93%. You can't get away from Ebola. Well, I shouldn't say that, but you can't get away from the Ebola story, shall we put it like that? The family of Thomas Duncan may now sue the Dallas hospital where he was treated. 26-year-old nurse Nina Pham, infected while treating Duncan. Does she have the right to sue the hospital, her employer? All rise, Judge Andrew Napolitano is going to sort out the lawsuits for us. Can Nurse Pham sue the hospital?
No, you cannot sue your employer for a work-related injury unless the employer intentionally harmed you. That's because the legislature has co-opted that by workers' comp.
But if she says, I didn't get proper training with these hazmat suits, you didn't tell me right, you didn't train me right, and now I've got Ebola.
The case will be dismissed. Her cause of action is in workers' comp court, where she'll be compensated, theoretically, I don't approve of this, but this is the law, she'll be compensated for any permanent injury and any loss of work, unless she can show that her employer intentionally harmed her. Probably inconceivable here.
Yeah, right.
Could Duncan sue the hospital? Yes. Duncan's family, obviously Duncan's estate. If this hospital has now acknowledged it was unprepared to treat Ebola, it should have not turned him away, but sent him to a place where they were prepared to treat him. So they may very well have a case, but their damages are limited to their economic loss, not their pain and suffering that their father, brother, son is deceased. Their economic loss as a consequence of his early death.
Who else can sue? Is there
well, you know, as a general rule, with respect to diseases, the cause of action comes about when a person is reckless in their exposing themselves to someone else or intentionally exposes themselves to someone else. For example, there are cases of people who have AIDS being arrested, intentionally biting the police that arrest them in an effort to transmit the AIDS to the cops. Obviously, that is an intentional behavior which could be the basis for
Don't you think
litigation.
that a good lawyer can get hold of that jury and say, look at my client suffering from Ebola because this group of people didn't train her right, the equipment wasn't right, it's their fault, pay her. I mean, a lawyer can do that if it's worth his salt.
If a judge allowed a lawyer to do that, but the whole purpose of workers' comp, and again, I don't defend this system, but it is a system in all 50 states, the whole purpose of workers' comp is to remove from juries the consequences of workplace injury. Whether I slip and fall on a wire here in the studio, or whether I'm a nurse or a doctor in a hospital and I get sick because I work there, I cannot sue the employer unless the employer has set out to trap or harm me.
Okay, I'm sitting on a plane. Somebody gets sick. We have to stay on the plane. In come the guys with hazmat suits. I say, I am terrified by this. I need therapy for the rest of my life. Pay me. Who do I sue?
Probably can't sue anybody for your fears. Fears are generally not compensable. If fears were compensable, my dear Mr. Varney, everybody sue everybody.
I have suffered mental damage because of my extreme fear.
Very, very difficult case to prove, and most judges would throw it out. The reason they throw it out is because the courts of last resort in virtually all states have said you cannot sue for fear. Fear alone. Not a basis for a lawsuit.
How about the airline? Cantor Fitzgerald sued American Airlines after it lost a lot of employees during 9/11. They actually got a settlement, $100 million settlement earlier in the year.
Here's the problem.
Does the airline have any culpability?
Here's the problem with the airline.
They're still settled.
In my world, in my free market world, you think I'd know that after all these years, the airlines, which own and operate their own property, would decide who gets on. But that right has been co-opted by the government, and the government tells them who to put on and who to keep off. It has removed that decision-making power for them. They should decide how their assets are used.
Let me give you breaking news, and this comes from the CDC, Centers for Disease Control. The second healthcare worker who was tested positive for Ebola flew on a plane on October the 13th, 2 days ago. That's the day before she started showing symptoms. The CDC is reaching out to the 132 passengers who flew on that flight. Frontier Airlines Flight 1143 from Cleveland to Dallas-Fort Worth, October the 13th.
Now, there's no way that airline could be liable for putting her on there if she had zero symptoms. There's no way she is liable. She's not a typhoid Mary, walking through the streets with typhoid, spitting on people and biting them and trying to infect others. She is a normal passenger who has no idea what's going to happen to her in 2 days. She can't be held liable.
But what that story has done is to spread the general anxiety level.
Now,
can't you sue the CDC for not being prepared to deal with this outbreak?
The government has enacted laws that makes it immune from litigation.
Really?
A private hospital can do things and be sued that a government hospital could get away with to the end of time.
Well, by the way, in 2 days, point out the Dow is now going down. It's now 204 points down.
In 2 days,
maybe it's Ebola-related. Go.
In 2 days, we're going to be talking about the GDP impact of this disease, because when you contact 135 people that you may be on a plane, everybody hears about it. They don't want to fly. They don't want to go to movie theaters. This is a big thing.
I am going
paralysis. That's paralysis.
I'm going to be in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport on Thursday during your show.
Yes.
Because I am passing through on my way to speaking at a major university in Texas.
Me too.
I will call you from that airport into this studio and let you know if it's alive and vibrant or a ghost.
I heard the Dallas hub at Newark yesterday was dead.
We will do it.
Nobody was there.
So what we're talking about here is fear of flying, fear of travel, fear of being exposed, even though that may be an irrational fear. Maybe. Doesn't matter. It's the fear thereof which will cut down on travel, raise the anxiety level. And that's what we're talking about. Dow is down 210.